So in my last video, I just touched on a little bit about how I think we are in a very vulnerable spot right now. And the reason being is because we are fully focused on fighting the inflation at hand, the war with inflation. And this is going to be a big problem, and it's going to take a little bit of time to solve. But as we focus all our efforts on this, if something else were to happen right now, if it were, of course, if it doesn't, there's always that side too. But if it did, if some other crisis came out of left field and just smacked us, okay? And that's the way they always do happen. If that did happen, we would be in big trouble right now. And the reason being is because we are already using all our tools, all the Fed's tools to fight inflation, which we should be, of course. But we're pretty much almost out of ammo here. And if you look back at all the other crises that have happened, at least in the last, 40 years, what they have done to fight the crisis was give out lots more money to the public and raise interest rates up. Lower interest rates down, okay? We can't do that right now. If we do that, we will just push inflation higher. Okay, so the tools that we had in the past would not work today. All right, we can't do that. We've already exhausted those tools. So, and I'll give you an example. Of course, 2020. What did they do? They gave out everybody tons of money, lowered interest rates. Crash of 2008, 2009. What did they do? Handed out money, lowered interest. And you can go back and look at these too on a graph or whatnot. Okay, that is their solvent to crises, is to lower interest rates, hand out money. Okay, and we are in a bit of a unique situation here that might not work, that might not be a solution. Okay, so anyways, going forward, what could those possible crises be? They are out there. They're out there. Okay, and the first thing that I could think of was that China comes into Taiwan, they want to take back that land, and they start a war with us, some kind of war or problem or conflict with us. We have some kind of conflict with China, okay? Now, as we all know, we do a lot of business with China. We do, for us disagreeing with the way they run their society, we do a ton of business with them. Excuse me, I'm still getting over this cold here. And, I look around in this office, and probably 90% of the things in here were made from China. If we were to have some kind of war with them or conflict, and they say, we're not doing business with you anymore, what would that do? What would that do to those companies? Well, they'd be in big, big trouble. That would shut down production. That would shut down their profits. Because remember, the only reason why they are allowed to go to China, or they do business with China, is because they can get that cheap labor and cheap products. If they have to pay for that in America or somewhere else, it might be a lot more expensive. China's environmental rules, way different. They can make all these products with that they probably can't make here in America. Okay, and there could be a flip side of that. Of course, everyone's thinking, well, they'll have to hire American workers, and that'll stimulate the American economy. Maybe, but a lot of it would have to be a total different setup, and the companies that have their whole setup now with China, a lot of these companies would go out of business. So the stock market, at least in the short to midterm, they'd go out of business, or they'd take big financial hits. Okay, all in all, it would be a massive problem, and the stock market would take hits. So the China conflict is one. The next problem, a debt crisis. We got a ton of debt. What if the crap just hit the fan there? If something were to come about where the debt would be a problem and people stopped investing in the dollar, the other countries of the world, and they stopped believing that this was a stable environment, our debt would be a huge, huge problem. I mean, it already is, but the debt crisis could become some kind of catalyst that would set things off. And the next thing I'm thinking about here is civil war in the United States. There's a lot of people who don't get along out there who have very different ideologies in America, and I believe we already kind of are in a civil war. Not so that people are shooting each other, for the most part, but people really have different kind of beliefs on how America should be ran and how things should go. And that is a big problem. It's a huge problem, and it could really spiral us into defeating ourselves. I think that already is happening, honestly. So if this continues, some type of American Civil War, and then, of course, when we think of Civil War, we think back to the 1800s. It's not going to be like that when people are killing each other. It's just going to be very split ideologies, and people will move away from each other, and it could have huge impacts on the stock market. Okay. Next thing, disease outbreak or some type of coronavirus number 2 coming out. Everything shuts down again. What are they going to do? Are they going to give out cash? Are they going to be able to lower interest rates? No, you can't do that. So if we have some other type of disease outbreak, it will cause huge, huge problems. And it doesn't look like that right now. We're already in mid-December, and usually these disease outbreaks would probably occur, earlier on in the fall. So I don't think that would happen, but you never know. And people really have coronavirus definitely fresh in their minds. So people are still freaked out. You still see people walking down the streets by themselves with their masks on, or in the car by themselves with their masks on. So, people are still very, very scared about that, and it could still really hinder things in some way or another. So those are some of the things I've thought about. Let me know if you could think of any. But yeah, right now, I don't think a lot of other people are thinking about this either. How really vulnerable we are right now. They're thinking, oh, the inflation is going to be the crash. I don't think so. This whole inflation thing can get solved. But if something else comes along,